faithfully delivering value and interpreting global bestsellers. Hello, this is Sally Book Talk. Today, I'm interpreting the book Reinventing the Company for you. This book will take you deep into Google's management secrets. Nowadays, Google is one of the world's top tech companies, leading in many fields like cloud computing and autonomous driving. Actually, Google isn't just a tech innovator, it also created a whole new management model. This management model helped Google grow from a small garage startup to a $1 trillion giant. Later, it spread through Silicon Valley, influencing companies like Facebook and Twitter. You could say it helped shape Google's culture. The authors are former Google CEO Eric Schmidt and former senior VP Jonathan Rosenberg. Both authors worked at Google for over a decade. In this book, they comprehensively dissect Google's management methods. They believe technology is dramatically changing business, affecting industries, and disrupting traditional models. If a company wants to stand firm in the internet era, it must constantly adjust management to keep up with the times. The authors explain Google's management approach from talent, growth, and innovation perspectives. Summarize it into three questions. First, how to attract top talent. Second, how to sustain company growth, making the right decisions at key junctures. Third, how to innovate continuously for long-term success. All right, now let's move to the first question. How to attract more top talent to the company. In Google's view, top talent are creative elites, totally different from traditional white-collar workers. They have business savvy, expertise, creativity, and experience. They love challenging norms, approaching problems differently to innovate. In Schmidt's view, creative elites are key to success in the internet era. This book explains how Google attracts them through culture, strategy, and recruitment. First, on culture. Creative elites are scarce and picky. They care more about company culture than pay or hours. And Google's unique culture is precisely what draws many creative elites. First, Google encourages everyone to unleash creativity rather than blindly follow authority. In many companies, when founders or executives speak, regular employees just listen passively, or they pretend to welcome suggestions but ultimately execute leadership's decisions. But not at Google. During AdWords development, at a team meeting, founder Sergey Brin proposed an idea hoping ad chief Sridhar's tech team would implement it. Without doubt, Sergey held the highest authority there. His reasoning wasn't solid, yet Sridhar disagreed. Sergey could have forced compliance. Instead, he split the team, half pursuing his idea. The other half continued under Sridhar's direction. Still unsatisfied, Sridhar initiated deep discussions of their rationales. Finally, Sergey reluctantly yielded. Sridhar faced no career repercussions for challenging the boss, later becoming Google's chief ads officer. Another unique cultural tenet, don't be evil. This motto originated from two engineers in Google's early days. It later permeated every facet of company culture. In profit-driven business, don't be evil sets high ethical standards and empowers employees, meaning if employees deem something evil, they can refuse. After Schmidt joined, a meeting discussed monetizing search via bidding ads. Though profitable, an engineering lead slammed the table. This is evil, we can't do it. Silence fell, evoking Western movie poker scenes where one accuses another of cheating. Everyone backs away, waiting for the first draw. Schmidt realized Google took this motto deadly seriously. After the silence came a deadlocked debate. Ultimately, the proposal for change was rejected. This case shows that when making decisions, Google employees often choose not to be evil. This value serves as a benchmark, creating a deeply rooted corporate culture. Its core value lies in becoming the foundation for corporate actions and preventing derailment. Thus, corporate culture itself is the right track. Beyond culture, what attracts creative elites most is robust corporate strategy. They know only through solid strategic foundations can companies thrive sustainably. But this book's concept of strategy differs completely from traditional business plans. MBA programs often teach detailed business planning, yet, in our fast changing era, even well considered plans inevitably contain flaws. Blindly following flawed plans leads to tragic outcomes. Unlike traditional approaches, Google's strategy isn't a plan but a unique methodology. Google's primary strategic pillar is trusting technical insights over market research. Traditional companies like P&G and Unilever heavily rely on market research to guide decisions. Google never does this. Their successful products stem from technical insights, business judgments based on deep technological understanding. For example, Edwards Insight was ranking ads by user value, not highest bidder. This approach builds on profound understanding of search technology. Google views search not as attention selling, but as an ecosystem involving users and advertisers. Only when ads become positive ecosystem content does it evolve and strengthen. Prioritizing short-term profits would rank ads by bid alone, ignoring content quality. Well, some search engines chose that approach and got tons of user complaints. But in Google's search ecosystem, when users find ads useful, they click more. For advertisers, this boosts efficiency, making them more willing to advertise on Google, creating a win-win cycle, satisfying everyone. You might wonder, how do you find technical insights? Google's approach is to solve specific problems, then scale those solutions. For example, early Google saw adult content become a hot search topic. Back then, the porn filter was practically useless. Many criticized Google's inaction. As Supreme Court Justice Stewart famously said about pornography, "I know it when I see it, and you could just Google it to know." And so Google assigned engineers to solve this with computational tech. They developed image understanding by analyzing user interaction patterns to categorize images. Say someone searched anatomy terms like breasts. Results varied widely. Medical textbook images were clinical and plain. Users rarely clicked or lingered. But sexually suggestive images, users lingered and kept clicking. Thus, user behavior helped identify pornographic content. This led to safe search, effectively solving the porn problem. But stopping there would have been a waste. During R&D, Google found hundreds of image interaction patterns, boosting relevance judgment. Next came a feature suggesting images similar to search results. Like if you loved a Yosemite photo and wanted similar images, ultimately Google launched reverse image search. Well, these features started with Google tackling porn sites. Their second strategic pillar, prioritizing rapid growth, even sacrificing for it. For internet platforms, the best growth strategy is creating a fast expanding ecosystem, even sacrificing short-term gains. Essentially, platforms are products and services attracting suppliers and users to form multi-sided markets. As they grow, investments pour in, upgrading the platform. So the authors say tech firms focus on platforms, not products. Google then built AdWords, partnering with sites like AOL. These companies hosted Google's ad system, displaying advertisers' content on their sites. For such partnerships, Google constantly debated revenue sharing. Say an advertiser places ads on AOL via AdWords. When users click, the advertiser pays Google. Google then shares that payment with the hosting partner, like AOL. How to split it? Google prioritized explosive growth over maximizing profits. Thus, they gave partners the lion's share. Building an expansive partner ecosystem mattered more than immediate profits. This powerful strategy became key to Google's success. It also attracts creative talent. Ambitious companies help them grow. All right, we've covered culture and strategy. Now let's dive into key recruitment practices. First, all management levels invest time in hiring, and every employee helps recruit talent. At Google, hiring isn't just managers' job, it's every employee's responsibility, tracked and evaluated. Metrics include referral counts and participation frequency in hiring events. These metrics then inform promotions and performance reviews. Second, hiring uses committee systems. Traditional hiring gives absolute power to department heads. No matter what decision the manager makes, the executives will approve it, but department managers can make mistakes too. Plus, many leaders say they'll hire people smarter than themselves, but honestly, that rarely happens. They think, oh, if he does better than me, I'll lose face. That way, my promotion plans go down the drain. In these situations, human selfishness often takes over. From the start, Google's founders knew that to keep hiring top talent, they couldn't follow the American corporate hiring model. They had to copy the American university screening approach. American universities usually form committees to decide on faculty hiring and promotions, instead of letting school administrators call the shots. So, the two authors believe we should ditch the hierarchy system. Google set up hiring committees with members chosen from the company. When picking talent, the committee makes the decision. Third point, recruit learning-oriented talent. Because the internet industry changes so fast, only by constantly learning and improving can you stay ahead. Finding learning-oriented talent in interviews is super challenging. Author Jonathan's go-to method is having candidates dissect a mistake they made. For example, in 2000, he'd ask candidates, during the 1996 internet boom, what opportunities did you miss? What did you do right? What went wrong? It's a question packed with hidden layers. This question first gets candidates to share their experiences, guides them to connect with real observations and insights, and forces them to admit their errors. For a question like this, no one can fake an answer. The point isn't to test how smart someone is, but to see how they learn from their mistakes. After solving the talent problem, companies start growing nonstop. In this process, companies face tough challenges, especially with communication and decision making. Next, for the second question, let's dive into how Google tackled these to keep the company growing fast. Google's managers really prioritize communication, and in daily practice, they've built a full methodology. The biggest feature of this methodology is openness and transparency. At Google, managers default to sharing everything with everyone. The board report is a prime example. This tradition started under CEO Schmidt and continues today. Each quarter, Google teams write an in-depth report for the board with confidential data like product metrics. At most companies, such reports are seen only by top executives. But after board meetings, Google leadership shares these reports with every employee. At all hands meetings, Schmidt would present the exact slides shown to the board. Plus, Google's intranet gives employees full access to upcoming product info. At weekly Friday all hands, product teams demo promising projects, open to all employees. Management trusts employees with mission-critical info, and employees honor that trust. Google's transparency permeates both operations and executives' daily behavior. Take Jonathan, Google's head of product and marketing. Newly hired, he'd immediately forward engineers' emails to relevant colleagues. Critics called him an info router. He cheerfully embraced being the most expensive router. Jonathan did this knowing traditional corporate communications flaws, like Soviet officials locking copiers to prevent grain plan leaks. Most managers still act like Soviet bureaucrats, hoarding info and doling bits to subordinates. The harder you work at lower levels, the less info you get. Here, info becomes a control tool, crippling internal flow. When problems hit, reactions are slow. Google aims to scrap this approach because building a 21st century company means attracting creative elites and unleashing their talents. That's the key to success. If creative elites can't access abundant information, it's all empty talk. So leaders must constantly drive information flow company-wide. Having covered communication, let's now dive into decision-making. When communication efficiency rises, decision quality follows. The book zeroes in on meetings, since most corporate decisions happen through them, big or small. Yet, in many companies, meetings might be the biggest headache. People constantly complain meetings waste time, but Googlers disagree. They see well run meetings as forums for data and perspectives, discussing issues and making decisions effectively. X's and employees boost meeting quality through four methods. First, every meeting needs a decider. Meetings between equally strong teams often yield weak results because both sides compromise instead of deciding firmly. Thus, assign a senior person as decider. Second, prioritize openness. Don't coddle yes men who hide opinions while chasing execs' views. Third, optimal company decisions require dissent. Encourage open debates where views clash. Without airing all views openly, people just fake agreement. Then leave the room and forget their commitments. Fourth, end meetings decisively when time's up. Over discussing backfires. Excessive analysis doesn't aid decisions. Deciders must set deadlines. When time expires, decide. Imperfect action beats paralysis. In part two, we explored how Google solved communication and decision hurdles to drive growth. For any company, solving these points to one ultimate goal. That's achieving long-term market success through innovation. This brings us to the third issue. Historically, businesses faced minimal environmental changes, reducing innovation pressure. But today, companies that don't innovate rapidly lose market share. Innovation has become the core corporate mission. This is also the book's most crucial section. Schmidt maintains a rigorous definition of innovation. To him, innovation means not just creating novel, practical ideas, but implementing them with unexpected yet highly functional solutions. Next, we'll dissect Google's innovation methodology in detail. This is the secret weapon behind Google's innovative products from search to Gmail, Android, and self-driving cars. This method integrates real-world context with technological trends. Google's internal team, Google X, incubates frontier innovations like self-driving car development. This team faces the toughest innovation challenges by constantly breaking conventions. At Google X, when evaluating ideas, employees rigorously examine two questions. First, the idea must impact hundreds of millions or billions, considering real-world scale amplifies potential. Second, it must leverage tech trends to offer radically different solutions from existing ones. Crucially, the technology must be feasible now, not decades away. Take Google's Project Loon. Helium balloons bringing internet to billions in remote areas, meeting these criteria through massive impact. Plus, the required tech either existed or was imminent. Second method, obsessively optimize user experience, prioritizing it above all, even at short-term cost, like when a 2009 engineering team proposed showing search results as users type without waiting for enter. Googlers were thrilled, seeing speed as crucial to UX, and the engineering team began development immediately. Just weeks before the feature launch, author Jonathan suddenly wondered, could this hurt our profits? Because results appear while users type, ad click rates might drop. At Jonathan's previous company, profit analysis was the final gatekeeper before any product launch. If it hurt revenue, they wouldn't launch it. But Google's different. Even if profits might dip, user-critical innovations always launch. Later, other search engines copied Google's innovations. Innovation. The third method, think big. Many fear risk and take tiny steps, but thinking big has huge advantages. Bigger bets often mean higher success odds because companies can't afford catastrophic failure. Whereas small, safe bets, none threaten survival but guarantee mediocrity, like Google's Vint Cerf designing new network protocols for deep space. Before starting Cerf asked, what will humanity need 25 years from now? Visionary, concise, interplanetary internet. Wow, Ideas like that get encouraged at Google. In product reviews, Schmidt and co-founder Larry Page often say, "You're not thinking big enough," pushing engineers to think larger, granting freedom and sparking creativity. Google X lead Astro Teller believes a 10% more efficient car needs tweaks. But a car using 1/20th the fuel, that requires starting from scratch. Just asking how to start from scratch sparks unprecedented ideas. The fourth innovation method, the 70-20-10 allocation rule. Google allocates 70% resources to core business, 20% to emerging products, 10% to high-risk moonshots. This approach ensures core businesses get most resources, while emerging ventures also receive investment. Meanwhile, wild imaginative ideas get support too. 10% resources isn't excessive, but reasonable, because overinvesting in unproven concepts makes failure harder to accept later. The fifth innovation method, 20% time. Google engineers spend 20% of work hours on passion projects. Google Voice, News, and Maps traffic info all came from 20% time projects. The real value isn't new products, but skills learned during experimentation. Most 20% projects require engineers to hone non-core skills and collaborate across teams. Even when they don't become inventions, they cultivate more versatile creative elites. The sixth method, ship early and iterate. New ideas are never perfect at launch. You don't have time. Build, launch, gather feedback, refine, and relaunch. That's shipping and iterating. The fastest companies win here. Voltaire wrote, "Perfect is the enemy of good." Steve Jobs told his team, "Real artists ship." So to recap, Google's 6 methods. 1. Integrate tech in context. 2. Obsess over users. 3. Think big. 4. 70-20-10 allocation. 5. 20% time. 6. Ship and iterate. From internet to AI, cloud computing, and big data, tech is reshaping our world. Through these waves, Google consistently rides the crest. No accident. This book reveals how Google pioneered not just tech, but entirely new management paradigms. Its core values and management model have fundamentally transformed compared to traditional enterprises. May Google's wisdom help you achieve greater success in work and entrepreneurship. So, all right, that concludes our interpretation of reinventing the company. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow. Join Sally Book Talk's official WeChat group for premium networking, exclusive resources, and benefits. Add IO Yawa WeChat, XMLYA 1919 with note Ting Shu for limited time free access.